so it goes. All of this happened, more or less. The war parts, anyway, are pretty much true. One guy I knew really was shot in Dresden for taking a teapot that wasn't his. Another guy I knew really did threaten to have his personal enemies killed by hired gunmen after the war. And so on. I've changed all the names. I think of how useless the Dresden part of my memory has been, and yet how tempting Dresden has been to write about. And I am reminded of the famous limerick. There once was a man from Stamboul who soliloquized thus to his tool. You took all my wealth, and you ruined my health, and now you won't pee, you old fool. And I'm reminded, too, of that limerick that goes, My name is Jan Janssen. I work in Wisconsin. I work in the lumber mill there. The people I meet when I walk down the street, they say, What's your name? And I say, My name is Jan Janssen. I work in Wisconsin. When I was somewhat younger, working on my famous Dresden book, I asked an old war buddy named Bernard V. O'Hare if I could come to see him. He was a district attorney in Pennsylvania. I was a writer on Cape Cod. We had been privates in the war, infantry scouts. We had never expected to make any money after the war, but we were doing quite well. I had the Bell Telephone Company find him for me. They are wonderful that way. I have this disease late at night sometimes, involving alcohol and the telephone. I get drunk and I drive my wife away with a breath like mustard gas and roses. And then, speaking gravely and elegantly into the telephone, I ask the telephone operator to connect me with this friend or that one, from whom I have not heard of in years. Oh, here, say, listen. I'm writing this book about Dresden. I'd like some help remembering stuff. I wonder if I could come down and see you. We could drink and talk and remember. I told you, I'm writing a book. I can't remember much. You must remember something. You guess what? Great. I think the climax of the book will be the execution of poor old Edgar Derby. The irony is so great. The whole city gets burned down, and thousands of people are killed. Don't you think that's where the climax should come? Sometimes I try to call up old girlfriends on the telephone late at night after my wife has gone to bed. Hello, yes, operator. I was wondering if you could give me the number of a Miss So-and-so. I think she lives at such and such.
I'm sorry, there's no such listing.
Thanks, operator. Thanks just the same. And I let the dog out, or I let him in, or we talk some. I let him know I like him, and he lets me know he likes me. He doesn't mind the smell of mustard gas and roses. You know what, Sandy? You're all right. You're okay. I like you. Sometimes I'll turn on the radio and listen to the talk programs from Boston or New York. I can't stand recorded music if I've been drinking a good deal. Then sooner or later I go to bed, and my wife asks me what time it is. She always has to know the time. A couple of weeks after I telephoned my old war buddy Bernard, I really did go see him. That must have been 1964 or so, whatever the year was for the New York World's Fair. My name is Jan Janssen. There was a man from Istanbul. I took 2 little girls with me, my daughter Nanny and her best friend Allison Mitchell. They had never been to New York before. When we saw the river, we had to stop so they could stand by it and think about it for a while. They had never seen water in that long, narrow, unsalted form before. The river was the Hudson. I met his nice wife, Mary, to whom I dedicate this book. Nice cozy house we got here.
Take a coat.
So let's talk. done. To marry, for her to act that way.
Don't worry. It's got nothing to do with you.
So we tried to ignore Mary and remember the war. I took a couple of belts of the booze he'd provided. We would chuckle or grin sometimes as though war stories were coming back, but neither one of us could remember anything good.
He was a hoot.
We were just babies then.
What?
You were just babies in the war, like the ones upstairs. But you're not going to write it that way, are you?
Well,
You'll
I
pretend
don't
you
know.
were men instead of babies, and you'll be played in movies by Frank Sinatra and John Wayne, or some of those other glamorous war-loving dirty old men. And war will look just wonderful, so you'll have a lot more then, and you'll be fought by babies like the babies upstairs.
Mary, I don't know if this book of mine's ever going to get finished. And if I ever do finish it, though, I give you my word of honor. There won't be a part for Frank Sinatra or John Wayne. I'll tell you what, I'll call it the Children's Crusade. She was my friend after that. I have told my sons that they are not under any circumstances to take part in massacres, and that the news of enemies is not to fill them with satisfaction or glee. I have also told them not to work for companies which make massacres machinery, and to express contempt for people who think we need machinery like that. There was a Lufthansa plane that was supposed to fly from Philadelphia to Boston to Frankfurt. O'Hare was supposed to get on in Philadelphia, and I was supposed to get on in Boston, and off we'd go. But Boston was socked in from fog, so the plane flew straight to Frankfurt from Philadelphia. And I became a non-person in Boston fog, and Lufthansa put me in a limousine with some other non-persons and sent us to a motel for a non-night. The time would not pass. Somebody was playing with the clocks, not only with the electric clocks, but with the wind-up kind too. The second hand on my watch would twitch once, and a year would pass, and then it would twitch again. There was nothing I could do about it. As an earthling, I had to believe whatever the clocks said, and calendars. I looked through the Gideon Bible in my motel room for tales of great destruction. The sun was risen upon the earth when Lot entered into Zoar. Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord of the heaven. And he overthrew those cities, and all the plain, and all the inhabitants of the cities, and that which grew upon the ground. So it goes. Those were vile people in both those cities, as is well known. The world was better off without them, and Lot's wife was told not to look back where all those people and their homes had been. But she did look back, and I love her for that, because it was so human, so was turned to a pillar of salt. So it goes. I had finished my war book now. The next one I write's going to be fun. But this one was a failure. It had to be. It was written by a pillar of salt. It starts like this. Bill Pilgrim becomes unstuck in time. It ends like this. Poo-tea wheat. Don't stand a chance. So it goes.